Hello, good morning. My name is Amos Tarfa, and today I'll be speaking briefly from John chapter 7, a few lessons for life from John chapter 7. The name of this podcast is the Sensibly Living Podcast, and the goal is to encourage young people especially, but also other groups of people, to live lives that make sense. We live in a day and age where we're told that we can do whatever we want, and be whatever we want to be, even if it goes against God's word. And so we end up living lives that don't make sense if we did that. So I want to encourage us today to search our lives and see in what area am I living, or in what areas am I living a life that doesn't make sense. We need to align ourselves with the truth of God's word. And so one of the things I want to address from John 7 is, of course, Jesus reminds the people that he's talking to that he was sent from the Father. And in John chapter 1, we're told that in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. And so one of the lessons I want to touch on through the audio, because we do have a video presentation, a longer video presentation about lessons from John chapter 17. But as a quick note, one of the things I want to address is this issue of living consistent with what we claim to believe. And Jesus reminds them when he talks about Moses and that Moses gave them the law. Well, some of those laws came before Moses, or some of the things and expectations came before Moses. But Moses came, and some of them would claim that they were following the laws from Moses, but they were actually not doing that. They should have recognized that Jesus was the one who was to come. And one of the things I want to encourage us with is, if we're Christians, then we should live consistent with the beliefs of the Bible, rather than living a contradictory life. So living a life that makes sense involves living a life that is consistent, internally consistent. And so we need to seek to live lives that are consistent. We need to seek to live lives that make sense, even when others don't like us. Because I think we live in a day and age where people want to be liked. And it's always been a part of man. But we should not be okay with just living to please people. We should seek to live we should seek to please God, because he's the one whose approval matters. So when you get an opportunity, I want to encourage you to check our video on this topic, on these lessons from John chapter 7. Thank you for listening to the Sensible Living Podcast. And I hope that you're encouraged this week as you think about areas in your life where maybe you're not living a life that makes sense, and try to see what do you need to do. Maybe it's that you're so busy you don't have time to read God's word and pray. Well, that means that we need to refine things so we can live a life that makes sense as we dig into his word, because in him we have life. Thank you for your time, and have a blessed week.